live stream. Thank you. Okay, good morning and welcome everybody. Welcome councillors, staff and those viewing us online this morning. The piece of work we've got through to get through to today, and we'll kick off with apologies. We have Gary Thompson as an apology. Kevin's not here yet, we haven't heard from him, so can I have someone make the apologies, please? Thank you, James. Seconder, Russell. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Against? Gary. Any declarations of interest? Today? And could I please have someone move the confirmation of the minutes for the last meeting?
Yeah.
Thanks, Sarah. James. Seconder, Kayla. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Against? Agreed. Right, we will move into item 5.1 with our Risk and Assurance Committee report from our meeting yesterday, and we have our Chair, Jadine Kana, online. Good morning, Jadine. Marie.
Good morning, Mayor Adrian, elected members, staff and guests. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Oh, excellent. Fantastic. Happy Wednesday, everybody. I'm here to present my chair report for yesterday's Risk and Assurance Committee hui. I'll take the report as read, highlighting it covers the summary of the papers that we considered, with the main focus of the hui being on the audit of the consultation document for the LTP 2024 to 2034, with Audit New Zealand present and providing verbal clearance on the consultation document, and noting two emphasis of matter, one in relation to the delivery of the capital program and the other in relation to the unbalanced budget. We had a good hui with strong engagement, and we're appreciative of all the staff and Audit New Zealand team, as well as elected members, in the journey of the consultation document. So I'm happy to answer any questions. Kia ora.
Thank you, Jadine. Any questions from the audience? It was a very thorough meeting. It was really good to just go through our processes to get to this point. So there's no questions, Jadine. That was pretty straightforward. Could I have a mover, please, that the information be received?
Yeah.
With Kayla, seconded Sue. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Against? Carried. Thank you, Jadine. Thank you so much for your effort in this. We've come to a good spot. Thank you.
Thanks, Mayor Adrian. Happy to bye.
Okay, we'll now go on to item 5.2, which is our approval of our draft fees and charges for the year next year's and the consultation. Thank you, Olivia.
So I'm presenting.
Yes, that's a bit closer. You don't have to lean in then.
I'm presenting the draft fees and charges today for adoption for community consultation. So these will go out alongside the long-term plan and community consultation and feedback, and then are planned to be adopted on the 9th of May, and so that the animal control fees can be processed already. And feedback.
Anything? Verification, all good?
Like what I've seen in the last time.
Yes, we yeah, and of course it is addressing that there is a change in our fees and charges, which seems probably what the council will be doing this year. Okay, any further comment? Would like to move?
Yeah.
Thanks, Sarah Jane. Seconded Dave. Fees and charges, the reports received, we adopt the statement of proposal, and that we adopt the draft fees and charges consultation. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Against? Carried. Morning, Kevin. All righty. Now we'll move on to item 5.3, the approval of the draft policies, rates permission and postponement policy consultation. Good morning, Lania.
Good morning. Rates remission postponement policy, we really didn't have any significant changes to that policy this time around.
Very clear and concise, and I think it's important that we have one. Yeah.
I'm happy to move it. The recommendation is stated.
Thank you, James. Sainsbury, seconder. Thank you, Caleb. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Against? Carried.
Thank you, Anya.
Alrighty, now we'll go there again for item 5.4 as the approval of the draft revenue and finance policy for consultation.
Good. So again, draft revenue and financing policy, we made some tweaks this time around to try to increase user fees and charges in some areas. Other areas we kept the range the same, but we had to increase the fees and charges to get it up to the range. And the other change we made in the policy this time was trying to put some information about in what circumstances we would use that our UAGC tool. That's the main changes to the policy this time around.
It's good, and of course it's going up. So any feedback reached this point to approve it? Receive the information that we approve that this document be up for consultations. Would like to move? Thanks, Caleb. Seconded. So all those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Against? Carried. Sue's here. We're racing through this morning. So item 5.5 is our approval of our draft development contributions policy for consultation. Thank you, Sue.
Good morning, Mayor and councillors. I take the report as read and just happy to answer any questions if there are any.
We of course discussed this yesterday at risk insurance too. So yeah, it's a piece of work that's been going on for a while and good to get it out for consultation. So there is no feedback. We're all
Everybody was
going with the flow
as well?
Yes,
Right,
yes. Move James Thomas, seconder Dane. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Against? Carried. Right. Is Anne with us? We cannot got Anne yet. Whether we can jump with Olivia here. Olivia, would you mind going to the 6-month report? Thank you. Item 6.1, and could get Anne across, please. We are going through quite quickly. Okay. Thank you, Olivia.
So I'm presenting the 6-month report. This is just a date period of 1st of July 2023 to the 31st of December 2023, and where we're tracking both financially and for performance measures. So we have 62 performance measures altogether. 36 were on track. I think it may have changed since that report was shared. And so in terms of not on track, we've got 15. And ones that we are either annual performance measures, so we collect the information and report at the end of the year. There's 11 of those. And so, yeah.
Yes, so
Quarterly, the quarterly dashboard is always an interesting read. Depends on how you want to read the numbers in the pie chart. So I think we can all take one as everything's okay.
Yeah. We've been through a fair bit lately in the last year. Yeah. Adam.
I just want to say, looking across the board, I think we're all tracking nicely, and I just wanted to comment on the layout, and it's very clear where we're at. So I just wanted to say thank you for excellent presentation.
I think just to obviously there's the dashboard, and then there's the things that we were on track on and things we weren't on track on are in the body of the full report. And just to note, some of the things that we weren't on track on were like the inspection of the playground. There was a bit of a staff member didn't allocate it correctly, or there was just it happened. The playground checks just happened outside of the fortnightly routine. So some of those things they're only minor off track. They're not significant off track, I think, is the point that I'd like to raise. The same with the public toilets. You know, we had a couple of extras in the 6 months. Hopefully we'll have a couple of less in the next 6 months and it'll be on target. But, you know, that's purely a chance thing. As we all know, the toilets can be cleaned and someone will go afterwards and change that status quite quickly. Alrighty. Any other feedback on the report? Don, would you like to just give some, or Lania actually, you're around the financials?
So First, I just wanted to apologise for the presentation of the funding impact statements in that document. I know they didn't come out very clearly; they're a bit fuzzy, but that's because I do debits and credits. I'm not very good at formatting things, so apologies for that. We'll fix it up for next time. But yeah, in terms of the 6-month position, we talking here on our cash position. We look at the funding impact statement, and we're saying on a cash basis we're about 1.2 behind where we'd like to be on our budget. But I guess the pleasing thing is that most of that is coming from where we're behind in revenue as opposed to being ahead in expenses. So that's a better position to be in. The main areas are where we're behind in revenue is obviously we budgeted 800,000 in our water areas, or 400,000 for the 6-month point. We wanted to get from our Better Off funding, which hasn't been approved yet. The backup plan for that that you had was that we would use the funding from our sale of our Matamata property. If that funding doesn't come through, so we've sort of got that covered. And the other areas where we're not meeting budget is obviously our metered water, and I think transfer stations behind a little bit, and some of our community facilities, our pools, and but otherwise expenditure is not too bad, get to budget. And then the other pleasing thing is that with our capital spend, we're slightly ahead of where we plan to be at this point, so it's a good sign.
It's good to achieve what we've rated for. It's always a challenge, and I guess with the economic climate we may achieve those things going forward as well. Obviously for tenders and stuff like that we haven't been getting an abundance of interest, have we, in recent months for work that we're getting?
No, and I was commenting yesterday, Madam Chair, if I might, slight digression, that we're noticing signs of the market changing very much in terms of employment. We're getting quite significant increases in applications for some.
So that's a first for a long time, because we haven't been fully staffed for some years. So I guess that's the economic situation that we're in.
I was just going to say, I think too that things are definitely pretty quiet out there, you know, in that service industries and things. So if you've got things that need to be done, now's the time to be putting the screws on a little bit and getting them done, because you're getting good prices and you know, good service.
Registration of interest for the Matamata Sports Centre, 14 registration, 16.
Well,
In the initial glance at them, they all meet the criteria.
Yeah.
So shortlisting will be difficult, but luckily that's not my job.
So yeah, so I guess you know you've given us the under the bonnet, because the thing is with DCs always distort, and people think, oh, we're making a profit, but we're not. The DCs are not a profit; they're there for banked for future infrastructure. So no, I think we're aware of where things are at. I have to express my disappointment that we haven't been able to get that funding yet from the Better Off funding, and I hope that we do achieve that. Well, yeah.
Okay, so let's go back on the history of the decision. At the time, there was an indication that some councils had received that funding as pure operational funding. There was some doubt as to whether that was going to be possible. And it seemed that those decisions that have been made with respect to other councils were not within the rules, as it were, and that certainly was indicated to us fairly early on. This Better Off funding was not meant for pure operational offset. So what we proposed then was to put up a couple of projects that would allow staff that would normally charge their time to operational to charge their time to those projects. We've not yet got approval for those projects. And I am not optimistic that we will achieve that. And if you recall, council at the time, there were two choices. If that was not to be the case, the one choice was to put the rates up to cover the shortfall of 800k. The other choice was to fund it effectively from reserves. So that's all I can do.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
So, Dawn,
Situation, so.
when can we hope them to give us an answer? Because it's
Well,
been quite some time.
We can help them. To be fair, I think they wanted more information, and I've asked, in fact, they're following the meeting yesterday, asked Fiona to give me an update on where that was at. But the reality is, do not be surprised if the government withdraws this funding altogether.
Correct.
So it'd be really nice to get this a little bit because, you know.
We've got flag getting that funding.
Yeah.
And,
Well, we've allocated the rest of it, you recall.
As well.
Yeah. On minor safety works that are not going to be funded from the transport choices, which has been withdrawn.
So you were in an interesting, I guess it's this vacuum of uncertainty where the taps are being turned off. But anyway, there are the coffers are empty. So it is. Bruce.
So our 4.3.
Yeah.
You take 800,000 off.
Yeah.
And you still think we'll get the 3.5 or not?
Well, I don't know.
At one point it was confirmed that it was still good.
Yeah.
But it seems to be changing.
Yeah, that's not that long ago.
No, it's not that long ago.
So our local contact has said they've heard nothing at this point to suggest otherwise.
So we'll just business as usual, but we may.
Well, yeah.
The rate may be pulled out, but anyway, we've for those councils that have got in and spent their money quickly, lucky them. For us that spend a bit of time thinking about what it is that we want to achieve is strategically. It is what it is. Well, we'll see how it goes, but I really do hope that the Waters team can put together a application, the application to support the work that's being done. And we are spending, for goodness sake, it was the better off funding. It from Waters should be going in, technically should be going into Waters. But anyway, that's my personal view. Any other comment, questions for the team?
Do we not have anything that's ready to go to spend some of that money on?
Well, we've allocated that the 3 point whatever extra 800,000. If you recall, we've allocated a portion of that to operational to manage the balance of the funds, the projects we've got lined up, and the initiatives we've got lined up for the work outside the operational fund are primarily associated with work that we were going to fund under transport choices.
What I can add to that conversation is the message even that from David Spears, Waka Kotahi, they're being tough. Government are being tough, aren't they? It's like he said, if it's not that, it won't be anything. If it's not spent on that, it's not going to be spent on anything. And that's what they're quite clear on what they want to achieve.
Yep.
And I had Tim in luncheon the other day, and he's quite clear about what they've been told as well.
Yeah, the coffers are empty.
Yeah.
It's been drained and not much fun when you get into power and find the fuel tanks on air.
right, good speech.
So anyway, alrighty, right. Well, we'll press on. So would someone like to move that the 6 month report be received, please? Moved Caleb, seconded Dane. All those in favour, please say aye. Against, carried. We will now move on to the bigger item, which is the adoption, I think Anne is 5.6, is the adoption of supporting information and consultation document long-term plan 2024-20. Big piece of work and we're finally.
Right. Thank you, Madam Chair. Morena koutou. So this report outlines the key building blocks that together have brought council to the point of being able to make the decision to take the draft long-term plan consultation document out for public consultation.
The report is organised in 4 parts, which I'll just briefly go over. So part 1 outlines the documents that make up the supporting information for the consultation document, which are the draft long-term plan itself and a number of policies. The Council's draft long-term plan for 2024 to 34 has a focus on affordability, keeping rates as affordable as possible for the community by prioritising must-do projects and doing only a handful of other should-do projects. Section 3, the financial strategy, outlines Council's financial goals for the plan and the various approaches that Council is taking to achieve these goals. In Section 4, the infrastructure strategy outlines 6 key challenges facing Council in infrastructure space and the options Council has to respond. Some of the risks identified in Council's approach across the plan include Council's ability to deliver on its capital program, the intention to set an unbalanced budget, and Council's approach to managing debt. Full set of assumptions on which Council's decision-making is based are set out in Section 2, with a level of uncertainty and the implications described for each. As a whole, the draft long-term plan describes Council's planned activities and community outcomes for the district over the next 10 years and provides a basis for accountability to the community. The other part of the supporting information are the 6 policies: liability management and investment policies, development contributions, revenue and financing, rates remission and postponement policies, and fees and charges. So then we move on to Section 2 of the report, which outlines Council's intention to set an unbalanced budget for all years of the long-term plan. It details the legislative requirements in this situation and how Council have met these. The requirements are that if Council wishes to set an unbalanced budget, they must resolve that the decision is financially prudent, having regard to a number of factors, and they must set out the reasons and implications of this decision. The factors, reasons, and implications are set out in Section 3, the financial strategy, and Section 6, financials of the long-term plan. Then in Section 3 of the report, we outline the consultation document itself. The consultation document sets out Council's approach to the long-term plan, namely focusing on affordability and its approach to achieving this. The consultation document sets out 9 topics on which Council is seeking public feedback, and additional topics are presented for information. Consultation is set to begin on Thursday, 21st of March, and run for a month through to 21st of April. The last section of the report is about the audit opinion on the consultation document. You received the draft audit opinion yesterday. The final opinion has now been issued with no changes from that draft. In summary, audit have issued an unmodified opinion, stating that the consultation document provides an effective basis for public participation, and that the information and assumptions on which it is based are reasonable. The opinion includes 2 emphases of matter, one on Council's ability to deliver on its capital program, and the other on Council's proposed unbalanced budget. Alongside the opinion, a letter of representation is provided, which we will return to audit. So that's an overview. Happy to take any questions.
Good piece of work. We finally got there. And I think to add, obviously, the document was only released
last night.
But
Final.
it wasn't, final clearance, but the 2 points were around the unbalanced budget and the delivery of capital projects. And that's voluntarily ratified to get the interim yesterday at this assurance. So, yeah. And of course, the thing is around our unbalanced budget is around the meaning of prudent is the key point here, and how we can improve. And that's all in relation to the Local Government Action Act and certain sections of it, 101, 101A and 102, I believe. So, you know, we have followed a fairly strict process. Obviously, audit have gone through it with a fine tooth comb, and this is where we have landed. I think there, you know, like some councils go out with their document and don't get it audited and then have to audit afterwards. I think there's a risk there. I guess we've gone through and audited first and put it up front so that we have a document that we can actually go through with and not have that concern afterwards. That is a risk that some councils will take by going out with an unaudited CD. Kevin?
Just wondered how Lania got on talking to Rena about that, what the addition of one word.
Oh, about rate, yeah, target rate.
Rates.
Yeah, we came to the conclusion that.
Councillor asked us not, no change.
No change. Mm. Yeah, because it was waters and other activities, so it was obvious that it was the waters are the
I
target.
disagree. It's not obvious.
Yeah.
It says rates. It doesn't say anything about targeted rates at all.
Except that it's in a box saying 3 waters.
Doesn't matter. Still confusing. It's all right. That's only my opinion.
Yeah. And we can talk to that. I think if people say anything, we can talk to it. Don?
No, I was just going to make a point, share that this process has, and I know this, councillor generously acknowledged the effort of staff. This would have to be the most in-depth assessment of documentation that we've seen for ever. They might as well have let audited the entire LTP come to their position, to be honest. That's how detailed it was.
Perhaps they could have written it for us.
Well, they did offer suggestions, and to be fair, local team, it's not all driven by central office and not Audit New Zealand. The office of the Auditor General who's clearly taken the view that he has to seek assurance that what has been proposed ends up. And he's obviously had a particular eye on the fact that we're all struggling with capital delivery, and he wants to make clear signals to the public that capital delivery is still an issue that needs to be given some profile.
Mm-hmm. I guess with the change in the economic situation, some of the people that, like, obviously they've got different skill sets to the waters, but there must be some element of there being some capacity move into the spaces where the work is. So one might be able to assume that some of the capital work might happen a bit more freely than it might have in the last couple of years. You know, you can't gear up quickly, but at the same time, there will be a transfer of capacity and resource into that field, because that's where there's a huge amount of demand.
Yes, and look, I don't pretend to be an expert on it. I had a brief conversation with one of the top people on Fort Hogan a while ago as he was doing his rounds, and he made it clear that they hate peaking surge staff. They have to invest heavily, both in manpower and machinery, to cope. Puts them at risk. It puts price pressure on their proposition. So one of the best things we can do, and I think you and Mayor mentioned, raised this on a number of occasions, is collectively smooth out the capital delivery across the region, but I mean, everyone wants the things done, and they're pushing. The government is investing in some capital work, particularly in the roading area, which has got similarities to, work, at least the civil work associated with free waters work. So I think there are some risks out there for us still, despite the slowdown in the economy in other areas.
But I guess the point here is with water infrastructure, wastewater infrastructure, we have to meet compliance standard
Yeah.
for resource consent.
Correct.
So this is always the sort of the point of contention, whereas they talked about level of service. Well, with us renewing the Matamata wastewater plant, even if it takes us longer to do it, there'll still be a wastewater plant there functioning that people can flush their loos. You know, it's just that it won't be compliant to today's standards. That is the risk, really. It's not about level of service. It's the resource consent that we are holding to. But anyway, that's by the by. Yeah.
Kind of you've been talking to your other CEs mates around the place, and they had the same issues that we've had, the same severity of reading the reports.
I think you find that a lot of councils aren't doing their long-term plans. We are ahead of the game because we chose to keep our 3 waters in when we did our long-term plan. We made a conscious decision that when we knew that when we went for the initial audit for our draft document, that we would not be compliant with the current law. We would be behaving contrary to the legislation around the Water Services Act. But we were confident that with the national government that they would be unwinding it. So we are actually well ahead of the game. A lot of councils have not gone, ones that are doing their LTPs have not had their consultation documents audited. So that could be interesting for them at the other end, knowing what we've been through in the last month or so as to how that might play out for them. But a lot are doing enhanced annual plans this year because they didn't have the waters in. They only had the waters in for 2 years, whereas we went on as business as usual. So that's why we're not hearing a lot of commentary. I don't know of anyone locally that's actually gone to audit because either they're doing an enhanced annual plan or they've fired ahead without auditing the draft. Yeah, Waipa are doing enhanced. There's Waikato are doing enhanced. I think Hauraki went ahead.
No, they do.
Are they doing
They
it now?
delayed their
LTP?
No, their
Audit, right. Because there is an element of uncertainty, I guess, around the roading and what the draft government policy statement on our funding for roading. That is a little risk that we face. But, you know, you can catch that up.
Well, and I talked to Susan the other day about that, and because it would seem the GPS is proposing the GPS.
The policy statement.
Policy statement.
Yeah.
Are indicating that they were prepared to put more money into renewals and maintenance. Now, Susan indicated that if that should come about, there is some flexibility. You can look to transfer between categories. Whereas you can take one money from one category and put it in the other if you feel that it's more appropriate to take advantage of potential increase in funding in our renewals and maintenance areas.
Peter.
Yeah, Adrian, I would have asked this question in earlier discussions on the long-term plan, but if I don't know, I ask. So here we go. And an apology if you all understand this, because I do not. So page 135 of our agenda. That's it. That's the starting point for my question.
Okay.
You can find page 135, please.
Yep.
And this is, have you got that?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yes.
I asked a few questions about these pretty graphs a meeting or two ago. So I have no problem understanding, you know, the unbalanced budget and the fact that we're going to spend more than we take in. But what puzzles me is that every year, you know, plus or minus a few million, we spend about $5 million more than we take in, which is all good, and that's been explained. What I don't understand is how that doesn't relate to our net debt over that time, and also to the net debt versus revenue graph. So, I mean, our debt increases by more than $5 million a year. Is that because capital expenditures not included in this graph, or what have I missed?
Yeah, so this is talking about our operating revenue and our operating expenses.
Yep.
So operating expenses includes our depreciation expense, which isn't a cash expense. So when you're talking about debt, you're talking about cash. You know, we're borrowing to fund
Yep.
things, whereas this is not talking about funding, it's talking about a accounting expense that shows on the books. A paper, yeah.
I just want to have that clear as to anybody who reads our long-term plan, because if they interpret it the same as I do, with a limited understanding, that, perhaps I need to do more education in that field, but it's, on the surface it seems a little bit false, because this shows the debt's not increasing by that much, but of course it is. So,
Yeah, I guess in the CD we've tried to explain that depreciation is not a cash expense. It's a very hard thing to explain. Trying to keep it simple and in a short form, but
yeah. There were two sides, and there were two sides to that too, because the roading funding from NZTA, we had been depreciating that value as well in the past, had we not?
No.
Well, that was a conscious, because there's that side of it that we obviously don't depreciate that, but there was also the some of those community buildings that aren't deemed essential. We weren't claiming the depreciation on those.
Yeah, so we don't fund those, because in the future we don't expect to replace them. Probably the one that was quite different this year was the desludging. So we've got the desludging that we're basically borrowing upfront to pay to do that work, and we'll pay it back over 15 years. So that's one situation where we are borrowing to fund the groceries, I guess, but we're saying this project is a project that's going to give us benefits for a longer period. It's going to give us more capacity in our plant for a long period. So that was the philosophy behind that one.
Yeah, good question, Peter. Though.
Yeah. Second question, we sit up to page 126, please. It's a much easier one. This is the
10 years.
Projected rate increases over the next 10 years. My question is, when it comes to servicing our debt, unfortunately we have some, and it gets more. What interest rates do we use to try and excuse the rudeness, the best guess of these rate increases in subsequent years? I mean, if we owe all this money, how do we get to figures like 2.4 and 1.8 if we're guessing what the interest rate might be when we service our debt?
So the interest rates, I don't pluck them out of thin air. We use our Treasury advisors, PwC, and they have a range of tools to come up with a projection based on current bond rates and all sorts of things. A little bit, yeah. You can guarantee it won't be right, but it's the best assumptions at the time. And I mean, that's all you can do is use the best information you have available at the time, and we disclose the fact that we're relying on these assumptions, and they could be wrong.
And they will.
And often are.
And they will.
And that's the thing with this 10-year plan. It's a little bit of a crystal ball gaze, but the thing is, it's a strategy that takes us to a point where these are the things we want to or need to do or should do, and that's why we review it every 3 years. Look what happened from 2021 to 2024. We have a wastewater plant that's gone from 11 million to 40 odd million. And I guess that's why we have to go through this process every 3 years, because things change.
I mean, hitting out those figures, those percentages, about to join the super annuitants in our country, those figures are looking really, really good as the years progress.
They won't do
It'd be wonderful if they could stay like that. I appreciate they will change a bit, but let's hope they don't get into the realms of 2 digits before the point or something like that.
And the greatest, so the greatest unknown is what is going to happen with the Three Waters. That is the greatest unknown. If they were to be moved out of our books, because they are a significant part of our infrastructure and our borrowing, they're being greater with the work that we're about to do.
And if they come off our books, it doesn't stop coming out of your pocket. They're coming in
the
another
people
bill.
that receive the service will still pay it, but the council LTP will look entirely different, is the point that I'm raising. But great question, Peter, and pleased you asked it, because some of us have been over this document quite a few times now with risk and insurance and whatnot, so we're we're there. And I guess our document does throw up some options. You know, it was like around the smoothing for the 3 years. In the first 3 years of our LTP, you know, you pay a bit extra, but you take the heat off year one. But those things are all part of our consultation, and I really do encourage everybody to engage with the community and submit, go online and submit. But anyway, is there any further questions or comments to make? It was a massive piece of work. I acknowledge the staff. You know, there were a lot of hours spent on this over the holidays that a lot of people don't realise. It's been thorough. We've gone backwards and forwards. So would someone like to go back to the motion, because it's quite a big piece?
I was just going to say, is this the time to be pedantic about typo?
Oh yeah, if you like.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. So it was in part 2, 7C. We've got the THEIR, which should be they are. Sorry, that's just.
Is that in the assumptions?
In the page 121.
Okay.
In the recommendation, yeah. 7C.
Sake of
I know. Sorry.
That's an easy tweak.
That sounds a bit swatty, but I'm sorry.
You've proved someone's read it.
Yeah.
All righty.
Was that the trap you put in?
We will go to the recommendation. So there's quite a long. How do you want this one first? Yep, and then go on to the next. Perfect. So we're moving part 1, and that's on page 120.
Yeah.
So do I have a mover or that? So this is the adoption of the supporting information. 1 through to 5. Thank you, Sarah Jane. Move Sarah Jane. Seconded.
I'll second that.
Thanks, Caleb. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Against? Carried. And then we go to part 2, the resolution on the unbalanced budget. It's a lot of discussion around this and understanding that. And I guess in 3 years' time we can review it, see where things are at. That's what will come up with our LTP process. We've put in unbalanced for 10 years, but it can change. So would someone like to move?
Yeah.
Thanks, James T. Seconder? Sharon? Yes. All those in favour, please say aye. Against? Carried. And then we'll go to part 3.
That one's easy.
The adoption of the consultation.
That's really easy.
9 and 10. And this is where the metal hits the road.
Yeah.
Okay, move Sue. Seconded Russell. All those in favour, please say aye. Against? Carried. And then our final piece, which is where we open the document to sign, is part 4, receipt of the audit opinion. What a massive piece of work. Moved Caleb. Seconded Peter.
Oh, okay.
Well, I'm looking for a seconder.
Happy to help out.
Thank you.
You twitched your eyebrow.
Yeah, seconded Peter. All those in favour, please say aye. Against? Carried. And yeah, great piece of work. The metal is about to hit the road.
Can I ask, Don?
Yeah.
You kind of mentioned a couple of times this has put possibly a bit much pressure on us to deliver it the state. Do you still?
So we go through to understand what went well and what could have gone better. So let's find out from there. I think to be fair, we were quite ambitious in the time frame that we adopted. And audit required probably, we didn't perceive the amount of intensity that audit would bring to bear on the process, so that's required a response from us. But let's see what the debrief brings out.
Was there an alternative? We could have been like everybody else and pushed it out, I guess. In that stage, was that an alternative in your mind? Or?
I suppose we could have stretched the timetable out originally, to a greater extent. We could have, if we understood what audit expectations are, we could have put more effort into, making sure that we,
It just extends the pain though, doesn't it?
yeah, I suppose, do you want to, quick, fast, is that the objective, or is it thorough and accurate? And I suppose there's always a balance between, those two things.
And justifying.
I mean, we have been thorough and accurate, but
Oh, yeah.
it's a hard
It's come at a cost,
Yes.
yeah, and it's also come at a cost with the level of auditing, but
Yes.
this is the world, the regulatory world that comes from us, from the Office of the Auditor General, from Te Mata Arawai. They are government
Yep.
bodies that are requiring more compliance and more oversight, and that adds more time, more cost,
More cost.
more complexity.
Yep.
Full stop. Right, well, we've come to the end of our meeting. So again, I just really want to acknowledge the time and effort of staff. This has been a big piece of work, and also acknowledge our risk and assurance team yesterday. Very thorough. We've really acknowledged Jadine as our chair of risk and assurance, because we are in a really, we've gone through this really, really well. I think even if it's taken right to the 11th hour, we've got to a point where this is a document I think we can be pleased with, and that we can go out hand on heart, knowing what we face, and tell the community, and encourage them to engage with us. So, yeah, thank you, team.
Mayor, if I could just say something.
Sure.
Yesterday's Risk and Assurance Committee meeting, and some of us are still feeling a bit bruised from the audit process, but we respect our colleagues and the professional standards that they have to set. But this comment that stuck in my mind yesterday that actually made me feel that we got the process right was a number of the members saying yesterday that they felt that the process, they understood the process, they had good discussions on the key issues. So in other words, there was a strong sense of ownership from the elected members. And from our perspective, it's your document. And if you felt that we hadn't achieved that, we would be disappointed. So we place the ownership of the process that you have to a higher regard than what the audit do. The audit's a necessary process. So I really wanted to thank the elected members yesterday who made those comments, because it actually put the whole thing into perspective for me anyway. This is about your document going forward. So, and as I say, I think the fact that those comments were made me say the project team got it right in terms of taking you along on this whole process. So I just want to mention that.
Thank you, Manai.
Well,
yeah, I really appreciate that. It's good piece of work. Oh, with that, I will now declare the meeting closed. Thank you, everybody, for your attendance today.
Oh,